Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Houston Street Fashions on Blog Talk Radio. This is your host, Wilkerson. Tonight we're going to talk about the modeling industry as it relates to fashion, whether it be in Houston or anywhere else in the United States or, pretty much all over the world. A number of things that we've seen a trend building is that modeling shifts, from personality to personality, city to city, state to state, and it's like seasonal fashions, where one model is in this month, this year, next year, it's a whole different, run-up of types of models. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the models can't work. Basically what that means is for, a particular designer or line of designers, they're looking for a particular look. So they, go to a different, agencies and they go to a pool and say, okay, we want all 6-foot brunette, short-haired models for our Paris show, something along that line. Well, as a model, that's a problem because, obviously it's not that easy to change your appearance to fit right into what's going on in the modeling industry, but a professional model has to always take into consideration that they are their biggest fan or should be their biggest promoter. So you're out there marketing yourself, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you think about it from a point of view that modeling is a nonstop type of education, where you learn something new every day. You learn something on every photo shoot. You learn something every time you do a runway show, And I guess when I look for a model, I walk up and I look at a person. I look at the way they stand. I look at the way they sit, the way they hold a cup, the way they address someone, and I can envision the way they're moving in perhaps one of my upcoming shoots or something like that. So I look for certain aspects of the person's personality that I feel like I can capture and then, obviously present to the client. Well, tonight we're going to have a special guest. Her name is Shelby, and she's going to be talking to you pretty much about what she's gone through over the last couple of months or years, starting out into the modeling business. Now, Shelby, you're 15, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm pretty much just your typical teen. I'm 15 years old. I like to play video games, do sports, and I'm absolutely in love with modeling. It's just a really amazing passion.
So other than modeling, you still find that your education is still paramount. It's very important to you to get your education as well, correct?
Oh, yes. I am actually homeschooled, so my work comes with me when I travel.
So that's an advantage. So if your mom is traveling with you, basically the school goes wherever you go, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. Now, I spoke with your mom on yesterday, and she was giving me kind of an overview of what you guys have been going through. Can you give the listeners kind of a rundown of, where you are today and where you started up until maybe, today?
Mm-hmm. I'm in Boise, Idaho. I pretty much started off of, it was more of like a prank. My friends were just joking around, and they were like, oh, you should be a model, and they dared me to enter some pictures into a agency. So I ended up entering, and then the agency actually ended up loving me, I guess, and that's kind of how it started. That's kind of how I got into it. I started getting more and more interested, learning more about things, and it just became really fun.
So you have found an agency?
Yes, I now have an agency.
And that's there in your home state?
Actually, it's in Salt Lake and in my home state.
Okay, so they have more than one office?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, your mom was telling me something that happened here recently where you guys, I guess, went to a casting or an open call.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we were under the impression that Ford Modeling knew exactly how tall I was and all of my stats and everything. I guess they looked at my pictures, but the agency never actually gave them the stats. Well, they were really interested in me, so I went down to Salt Lake, and I met up with Ford, and they said that they loved my look, but that I was too short, and pretty much said that they wouldn't even consider me for another 4 inches, you know.
Okay, so, well, that's not really saying that they're turning you down. They're saying that, you know, once you reach a certain height, you know, they would, you know, be interested in, you know, talking with you at, you know, beyond, you know, whatever the meeting was this last time you guys met.
Yeah.
Now, what about the agency that you're working with now? I mean, have they found any work for you guys so far?
So far, not really. I mean, I've had a few castings, but they didn't necessarily end up that well, but they're trying. I mean, agencies, they have thousands of girls, like hundreds to thousands of girls, and so they try their hardest to get you out there and get you noticed and everything. But it's a really hard thing to do.
Well, I mean, that's true, and I think that you have that realistic view of it is going to be more beneficial to you, you know, than anything else. You know, because so often I get, you know, modeling hopefuls that will come into the studio and they will talk to me and say, hey, you know, I'm going to try to get on with this agency, or I'm going to be taking this modeling class or what have you. And that's pretty much about where it stops. You know, they sign up with an agency and then they just sit around the house waiting for the phone to ring. You know, again, you know, like I said before, as a model, as a photographer, as a designer, as any type of creative artist, an actor, whatever it may be, it is just as much your responsibility to get out there and promote and market yourself. You know, I think the biggest problem that I see, you know, reoccurring is that trend where if once I sign up, that's it. I just have to wait. They're going to get me the runway shows. They're going to get me the commercials. They're going to get, you know, all these great things for me. Well, the thing that I guess a lot of people overlook is that it's not really the agency that makes the final call. Many times, and almost always, it's going to be the client. And the client is going to assess a need for models based on the product that they're trying to sell, whether it be, you know, car oil or cologne or fashion designs or whatever it may be. The client envisions what they want that person to look like. So when they contact an agency and they say, well, I would like, you know, ABC type person, you know, so that's what the agency is going to submit to them. Well, if there's a trend where that particular type is more popular, you know, then, you know, obviously that either you meet that, you know, requirement, or you have to look elsewhere. And many times you have to maybe look elsewhere as far as other agencies. But one of the things that I would always suggest is that before signing with an agency, look at exactly what they do. If they're a runway-based agency, then if you're not tall enough for runway, obviously this is not the agency for you. If it's print modeling that you're interested in, then you need to look for agencies that deal primarily with print modeling, or walk-on roles for movies, or whatever the case it may be. So all I'm saying there is it's important to do due diligence yourself and do just, you know, a little bit of research, you know, before committing yourself, you know, whether it be financially as well as emotionally, into something that may not pay out for you. Now, out of curiosity, you know, I think we'd talked or emailed back and forth, and you were talking about a contest that you've entered right now, and I think that was related to Explore Modeling. Isn't that Christine DeHart's website?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm competing in Kyle James Patrick's contest. It's an online casting. It's actually called Female Faces KJP09. It's what it is it's to find a female model to shoot for his upcoming fall line, which is a bunch of like traditional clothing and accessories that were all made in Rhode Island. And the contest is actually for any female from 15 to 30. And the interesting part is that professional pictures are not required, so it's a good place for new models to get noticed. Yeah,
I'm looking at the page right now, and I see a huge variety